Now, in most cases, we have data that contains several groups of categories. So in this example, we want to see how can we use bar graph to display such data, right? So in that case, we can use stacked bar graphs or we can use the grouped bar graph. Okay, say for example, in these data sets, we had asked the Europeans first, what is their favorite English Premier League team, and then we asked Africans what is their favorite English Premier League team. So in order to first start, going to run this, I'm going to use rbind in order to put these two data sets in a matrix. Okay, so I'm going to say grouped, in this case EPL underscore teams. Okay, and then I'm going to say bind these two, and I'm going to say European and also African, right? And then if we run this and see this data, right? So now our data set looks like this. Okay, so now when we want to create a stacked bar graph, so we're gonna say bar plot, and then we're gonna say pass in this data set, and then what we want to do is we want to add colors, right? And then I'm gonna say the colors, and then I'm gonna pass in, say, light blue, and then I'm gonna pass in, say, red, right? And then if you run this, so now this here is an example of how you can create a stacked bar graph. Okay, but now what you see in this stacked bar graph is that, remember that red represents the second data set, or excuse me, the second group, right, which were Africans. So it's not that clear when it's like this. So what we need to do is we need to create a legend, right? And we have already seen how can we create a legend. So we're going to say legend.text, right? And we want the row names of these data sets. Move this, and then we want the row names of these data sets, right? So what I want to do now is I've created the text inside the legend, and I said I want the row names of these data sets, and the row names which were African or you're either a European. Okay, and then let's say additionally we want to add the position, say, and also the size of the text, and we're gonna use 0.75, and then we're gonna say the position is going to be top. Let's use top right, and then let's run this. So now it's even more clear to see which team is most favored by Africans and which team is most favored by Europeans. So if we observed from this bar plot, we can observe that most Africans seem to be in favor of Liverpool FC, right? And most Europeans also, they seem to favor Liverpool FC. Following is Arsenal. You can see that, right? But if we were to compare the two groups, we can see, going into each team, we can see that for Arsenal, there seem to be more Europeans that favor Arsenal as compared to Africans. And when it comes to Manchester United, there are more Europeans that favor Manchester United as compared to Africans, right? So that is how you can create a stacked bar graph. But we can also create a grouped bar graph. And in order to create a grouped bar graph, we simply just have to use an additional argument And when we come here and say this argument is beside, right? So if we set this argument becomes true, right? So now we want a grouped bar graph. So this bar graph, it shows the bars in groups instead of stacking them, right? If we run this and we come in here, so this now seems to be quite clear than the previous one. Well, that is how I see it. Because you can also see for Manchester City that there seems to be a tie. When it's come to Arsenal, there are more Europeans that are in favor of Arsenal compared to Africans. And also there are more Europeans that are in favor of Manchester United. However, look at Liverpool FC. There seem to be more Africans that are in favor or that support Liverpool FC as compared to Europeans. Must be the fact that there was an African player who was so good, who was playing for Liverpool. You guessed it right, it's Sadio Mane. That was the time when Sadio Mane was still playing for Liverpool. There were more Africans who were in favor of Liverpool FC. But in this case, these are just made up numbers. That might not be true. I'm just saying that might not be true. This is a made up data set that I created in order to demonstrate how can we create a grouped bar graph as well as the stacked bar graph. So that is how you can create these two types of bar graphs.